Welcome everybody. This is a slideshow to kind of help us all begin thinking about how we could start a mentoring program on campus when we're supporting students with intellectual disabilities. The first thing we want to think about is what are the outlets for finding peer mentors? Where are these peer mentors going to come from? And there's a lot of different places that we might want to explore. The first being college courses. So are there courses within the college or university that might just suit itself to soliciting peer mentors? You can also look at student groups or organizations and clubs on campus. You can look at what mentoring supports are currently existing on campus, and you might even want to collaborate with disability services to figure out ways to provide mentoring supports to a variety of students. Now let's look at that first option, the development and use of college courses. So first of all, you might want to look at identifying any existing courses that are in your credentialing programs that might have a need or interest in service learning. And service learning is a very key piece if you're going to use mentors out of a course. You might want to just try to identify faculty who may be open to incorporating mentoring as a class project. So maybe it's not something that every student does, but it could be a choice. Using Universal Design for Learning, oftentimes professors will provide choices or options for students, and mentoring could be one of those choices or options. You could also look at potential courses where service learning component might be appropriately embedded. So maybe there isn't already service learning in a course, but where would it might make sense to embed service learning within a course? You can look at courses where there are field experience requirements. That might be a good place to get mentors from. Or you could even think about creating a mentoring or a leadership course and offer it as an independent study or embed it into an existing program. So it could be part of the regular course catalog, or it could be something that's just offered once a semester or once a year, where students learn about leadership, they learn about how to support one another, they learn about mentoring in general, and then maybe there's options within that course where some students do mentoring of other college students with intellectual disabilities. Some students go out into the community and provide mentoring supports to children in P-12 schools, or they go out into the community and provide mentoring through agencies like the YMCA or Big Brother, Big Sister programs. Now, service learning as a course requirement is something that's embedded within a course where students actually participate in some kind of organized service project or activity that ends up meeting a community need. In the case of mentoring, the community need is within the college or university community. There's another component of service learning projects when they're embedded into courses, and that's a very key component, and it requires reflection on the part of the students. So there would need to be regularly scheduled reflection opportunities and requirements that may even be graded. And students are asked to reflect on things that demonstrate their deeper understanding of the course content, maybe get to a broader appreciation of the discipline in general in which the course is embedded. Reflection often enhances the student's sense of civic responsibilities, begin to think about the implications of the work that they're doing in the community, and oftentimes create a greater interest in and understanding of community life in general. So any type of community planning type course, social work, nursing, education, all might be courses in which service learning of this nature might make a lot of sense. If you're going to embed mentoring as part of service learning within a class, there are things that you might want to consider adding to a course syllabus. Perhaps you might have a mentor training or orientation that you require students to attend. You would certainly have materials that you'd want them to look at or videos to watch or view. Some people even have students take a mentoring quiz before they go out, or complete some kind of assignment to sort of demonstrate their readiness for mentoring and their understanding of what mentoring would entail and their commitment to mentoring. There might even be a contract that you have students sign before they engage in a mentoring project. Once you've figured out what that mentoring is going to look like and how often and where, you would create some sort of mentoring schedule, and the expectation would be that the student follow that schedule. So you might want to have them submit some kind of activity log to demonstrate their participation. And you may even have someone in authority sign off on those logs. Again, you would have students write periodic reflections about their service learning experience, and I would suggest even submitting a final reflection, sort of a culminating experience. What did this all mean to them? Another place outside of courses where you might find mentors would be through campus groups and clubs that are all organized around students. So you could contact the Office of Student Life on the various campuses and universities to access a list of the current student groups and clubs, and that way you can find those that might make the most sense, that maybe have a similar vision or mission that might be a great match to mentoring. You can look at student leadership organizations, sports clubs and organizations, even accessing Greek life. Oftentimes, Greek organizations have philanthropy projects. Many of those are pretty solid and already a part of their Greek culture, but there is often room for expanding what some of those opportunities are. Other student groups and clubs, if there isn't one already on your campus that's a good match, you might consider creating a mentoring or leadership club. I know of one campus that created a club called Dislabeled, where they really looked at and analyzed and researched and even synthesized information about why people are labeled, what labels mean, and then working towards the dislabeling of groups. You might want to contact program directors and assistant directors on campus for possible connections. For example, we've had a lot of great luck with working with our campus recreation office. They do lots of cool things, and their vision is to be able to provide access to diverse student groups or students. So for us, they were a great ally and resource. There might be groups within student life and residential life where you can find a lot of cool things happening. I mean, just looking at regular opportunities. The picture below is from a Read Across America group that went out and did reading at different elementary schools and read literature to young students. And they were really open to having students with intellectual disabilities participate in the Read Across America program, and that's where some of the mentoring partnerships blossomed. You can look at existing mentoring programs that may or may not be on your campus. For example, in some campuses they have mentoring programs for first-generation college students, or they may have mentoring that already exists for students with mild disabilities. Sometimes there's mentoring for non-traditional students or students that are in need of academic remediation, or sometimes individual racial or ethnic minority groups have mentoring programs that are already developed on campus. Not to supplant those programs, but maybe the people that run those programs might be willing to extend their program and add a component or a piece that supports students with intellectual disabilities. And if nothing else, maybe even to learn from them how their mentoring programs work, where they have gotten their mentors from, and what you might do to duplicate some of their efforts or copy some of their efforts to support a different population of students. Disability services may be a great resource for you, depending on how your disability services offices are configured. Oftentimes there are already mentoring programs within disability services. As I mentioned before, sometimes there are programs for students with more mild disabilities. There are a growing number of mentoring programs to support students with characteristics of the autism spectrum disorder. So tapping into those existing programs or adding to those existing programs might be an option for you. You might even want to collaborate with disability service personnel to create a mentoring program if one doesn't already exist. And although you might be focusing on students with ID, perhaps you can help support them to create a mentoring program for all of their students, or a particular student group like students with Asperger's or characteristics of autism. You can look at maybe developing a program where upperclassmen with disabilities mentor lower classroom with disabilities, really supporting self-advocacy, self-determination, and student empowerment. But you want to remember, no matter how you develop your mentoring program, that you want to think about them more as a partnership. Instead of a tutoring program, which would just focus on academics, or a coaching program that might just focus on career goals or social skills. A mentoring partnership is a little bit more fluid of a relationship, and it really is about both parties having benefit from that relationship. It should be voluntary, and everybody should be seen as an equal. Oftentimes, mentoring partnerships are unpaid partnerships. When you get into paid partnerships, it sort of takes away from that natural equality in a relationship. Already somebody has to be there instead of both parties being voluntary. Always think about the development of natural supports, because although we might want to create some consistency, have some control over what's happening with the mentoring partnerships, the true mentoring happens, and the best development of an inclusive campus is when we can look for opportunities for developing natural supports and accessing natural supports within a class. So if you can find faculty who might want to access natural supports within the class, look at other students who are taking the same courses, who may be willing to step up and include a student meaningfully in a group and help to make the adaptations or accommodations that the student needs. That's the most powerful form of mentoring partnerships that we can have. I hope that this slideshow has helped you in thinking about different ways that we can develop mentoring partnerships on campus for students with intellectual disabilities.